Okay, I got to tell a funny story. You guys want to hear a funny story? I like to cook, and so we had to bring this funny object lesson, right? So when I do pancakes, and you women know, you kind of get to the bottom of the bowl, and we did daycare, right? So like sometimes I'm fixing breakfast for 12 little kids. And when I get to the end of the bowl, I'm in a hurry. I'm not going to scrape that bowl because I'm ready to move on with my day. So what my husband would do is he would come and grab this, scrape the bowl, got to get that last little bit out. And sometimes I'd already turned the griddle off. I'm like, hey, if you want to cook that, you got to plug that back in because I'm done. And after a while, I got annoyed. This is my kitchen. I'm the cook. If I want to throw that little bit away, who cares? But he cares. Oh my gosh. We don't talk about dogs. Ours died in December. We had to put him down. So sad. Anyway, I got annoyed. Maybe I got mad. So what you do, women, when your husband comes in the kitchen, you're done cooking, there's a little bit of batter in the bowl, take it over to the sink, turn the water on, shh, and then he walks in and looks at it.
You little stinker. I did that just so I couldn't get my pancake.
I'm done cooking, and I'm not going to let him come in and do that. It annoyed me so bad.
I almost dumped the water out and tried to get it anyway.
Anyway. So, I mean, this is like silly, you guys. This is the small stuff. You've heard don't sweat the small stuff, right? But do you ever get annoyed by the small stuff?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It gets annoying sometimes. So, we're going to do some relationship math here, but what I want to share is I'm going to share the negative side of that. Hey, we talked a lot about thoughts yesterday. Thoughts have power, right? Thoughts affect how we feel, cause us pain, cause us joy, right? Sorry, I have to put my glasses on. Okay, so a couple of things I could be thinking is, first of all, I am wasteful because I did not save that last little bit. So he's just thinking, I'm wasteful. He could be thinking that maybe I didn't do it right and I don't know how to cook that good, which I'm a pretty good cook, except when I'm getting ready for the retreat and my stuff is in the oven and the timer went off and I didn't realize it. Okay, and then the other thing that I could be thinking is just like, well, I'm just not good enough. You know, he's coming behind me and fixing my mistake or my, not being frugal. And reminds me of my mother telling me she worked at a grocery store and this woman would go around behind people after they had like cleaned some shelves or something, and she would go around and she would pretend to clean them. And then she'd say, look, I did this really awesome cleaning job over here. And so she'd follow people around the store. I'm like, they paid her for that? So like I could have totally felt that way. Like he's, coming behind me to take care of how dumb I am when I'm in the kitchen cooking pancakes. So we talked a little bit about interpretation yesterday. And to be honest, I was probably thinking, he just thinks I'm wasteful. That's probably where my mind would go because he is super frugal, super thrifty, which is a positive thing.
I sort the garbage, I recycle, we throw the food scraps in the compost pile. Nothing wasted, right?
So if I tried to say, okay, how could I take this in a positive way? This is annoying me all the time, right? So first I could think, oh, look, he's coming in to help me, right? Because I'm like so busy taking care of these 12 little daycare kids, and he's just coming in to help me, right? So I could take that attitude. Another thing is, and he kind of already mentioned it, is he just wants that last pancake because he's like super hungry, right? He's got to have that last pancake on his plate. And then the other thing would be that he is really frugal and really thrifty. And in my life, that's a good thing because that means I can go to the mall and spend more money on clothes, right? And not feel bad because he's the one that doesn't want to spend money on clothes. So that's kind of like when we look at this relationship math, if I'm thinking the negative thoughts, and he's going to share maybe what could have been his thoughts, and he's thinking negative thoughts. Anyway, he's going to explain this.
So the green is the traditional math, right? That's what you're familiar with. A negative times a negative is a positive. Negative times a positive or a positive times a negative is negative, and a positive times a positive is positive. In relationships, not quite the same. So in relationship math, a negative times a negative, think about this between you. When you're both being negative, it is not positive. That never works out that way. However, in traditional math, if it's a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative, husband, wife, husband, if one of you are positive, you're winning. It's still good. If one of you stays in the good energy, it's a good equation. It's working out. So that's different. Positive times a positive is not just positive, it's infinitely good. No limit to how good that can get when you're both being there. Okay, more story?
No, you get to share.
What am I sharing?
You get to share what, I want to know what he's really thinking when he comes in, right? We want to know if he's coming in to help, he's lovingly helping his wife, right? Is that what he's thinking?
So I walk in there, I see that on the counter. I know there's one more pancake in there. I don't waste anything, and I wish that she wouldn't waste anything. If she would just do her job, I wouldn't have to come and rescue the last pancake. She would do it already. So there's one approach. I am annoyed that I have to rescue the pancake every time. A better interpretation, we talked about interpretation, so relationship math is a lot about interpreting this equation. I realized her values. Are we going there now?
Sure. You're talking, go ahead.
So I quit being annoyed about the batter in the bowl because I realized that I get overwhelmed if there's 3 things on my to-do list, and I look at hers and she probably has 30. And
Which
so
I don't recommend. You should take that back. It's nice if you have 3 to 5, seriously guys, 3 to 5 on your to-do list every day, and then once you get them done, the overachievers feel really accomplished instead of having the list of 20 and going, oh my gosh, I still have 10 more that didn't happen, right? So he's got a good thing, just 3 maybe.
So we heard last night a little bit about how male and female are wired differently, and there's even a little bit different wiring for different personalities. And so her wiring is that stuff in the bowl doesn't exist. I have too much other things to accomplish and get to. My wiring is I should have lived as a pioneer. What is that? Fix it up, wear it out, make it do or do without. Don't waste anything. And so to me, before she had this, I was even willing to do this. Do you know how hard it is to get one pancake scraped out of a bowl with a spoon? But I would try because that was who I was. That was important to me. And so for me to express myself, who I was, I had to, that's just me. I have to get the last little bit of use out of it. And I realized that's not her. That is not important to her. And so I would come in and see the bowl and think, that's fine. You don't care about that. If you don't care about me scraping it, I won't care about you wasting it because I'm here to not let that happen.
turn my phone off. Okay, so I gotta tell you the rest of the story though. You wanna hear the rest of the story? I decided to show appreciation to my husband's value of frugality and pinching pennies and filling his tummy with good food, right? That after I finished the pancakes, I would get my little scraper and I would do the last one.
And that scraper is so amazing. Quick. You can rescue a pancake in seconds.
But there's more, guys. So now that I cleaned the bowl, he comes in and he grabs the spoon and goes,
I had to find out how much pancake is in a spoon. That's me. Okay.
So who wants to be picked on?
We need some
Volunteers. Janae? And the husband. This is a couple. It's a couple thing. You got to be willing to be vulnerable together. You can think about it, but should we cheer you on? Think you guys want to come up? Scott and Kristen, come on up. Do we want them to stand up or? Yeah, we all just stand up, right? Okay, I'm going to come to this side so that you feel supported.
All right. Is there a situation that we can use some of this relationship math and do some computing? Is there something, some interaction between the two of you, like our pancake batter? Is there something where you're both having some struggle with negative and positive?
I'll let you take this one. Because I know there's a lot that I do.
So he coaches our daughter's softball team. He's a phenomenal coach, and it's a great bonding experience for our girls. But for me, I often feel left out in that situation because there's lots of conversations that are softball related, and sometimes I want to hear, how was your day? And not so much about the softball team and about the girls on the softball team.
So the equation is, he comes home after the game and nothing but, did you this home run this and this many outs and okay. So you feeling pretty good about this equation? You got good things to report, right?
Well, she's right. I do. I come in and because I'm so hyped up, especially when the girls do really good. And she wasn't there to watch it, so I want to tell her everything that happened. And I can always see that look on her face, and she'll always bring up, please stop, no more softball. I take that as, I don't care about your team or softball. I don't want to hear it. So.
And so when he wants to go on and on and on, what are you hearing?
That what I did today was not as important as what the softball team did.
Okay. And is there a different way to compute that equation out? Is that really what it means?
No. I need to allow him to have that time, but then I also need to express, when he's done, express what I did and be willing to assert myself as well and not just sit back and not say anything at all.
And so if she has heard all she can hear and you get that look, and what is that message again that you're hearing?
And maybe I actually really need to change that that thought and say, stop what I'm doing and say, how was your day?
So, but the original message was,
She
That-
doesn't.
I
care.
don't-
She doesn't care.
she doesn't care about.
Ask her first about her day. Yeah. Then you'll really get sex.
So are you seeing the
Back row.
the misinterpretation of things that really cause the negative equations? You get negative times negative, and it gets exponential. Or if one of you, so have you had it where one of you, you've been able to, one of you stay good and one of you go negative, and how has that been?
Better.
Yeah,
Yep.
but it's a lot easier if we're both positive, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
So the best way to write this equation is to really recognize that the reason he wants to go on and on and on about softball is because how much fulfillment that he gets out of that. And can you, for a minute, step into that and experience the joy with him? But only to a point, because you need your side to be fulfilled, right?
Right.
And so how are you going to do that?
Then as soon as I'm done talking with, explaining how the day went, then I need to look at her and say, okay, so how was your day? What did you and the kids do, the other kids do, or whatever? Yes.
What do you want to say?
I was going to say, sometimes we forget that one of the best things we can do when we recognize that there's what I call a conversation tension is to go to ground that is like neutral, right? So not what's best for her and not what's best for him. And so sometimes it's just about, man, you look really good today.
Where's that thing we're gonna put on our bed?
But I really mean that. There are times when he walks in and I have to remind myself that it's dangerous territory for him to ask me how my day has gone. I have to temper that myself, right? Because the last thing he wants to hear when he comes through the door was, your daughter this, your son this, I'm out, because that's not a fun experience if he's come home from one. Do you know what I mean? And the last thing I want to hear when he comes through the door is, what's for dinner? Or do you know what I mean? Where are the kids? Or, those are things that tend to be trigger points in our conversation. So for me, I always go to, what's your neutral? So is there a way you could find like a neutral conversation before like the share, like come in and then the neutral is eye contact and, man, you are really good looking, babe. You look so good. I think the same about you. What'd you do with your beard? Good. I like it. You know what I mean? But acknowledging one another really changes how we engage in conversation. To acknowledge each other first is a huge thing for me. So that's just my little, okay.
Well, thank you.
So is that a good way to get both of you in the positive so you can start multiplying your positives before you go what's separate things? It would allow you to enjoy the differences between you when you've been able to find the neutral ground and enjoy that first. So that's good. Yeah, we had one right here.
First thing I got when she was trying to come up with the interaction was, he's a softball coach for my girls and he's amazing at it. So you should know right off that doesn't, that she hates that. But my thing is as a woman, when my husband comes home, I'm super busy and I don't want to get interrupted or annoyed sometimes, and I don't want to hear anything. So what if you came up with a thing like, hey, honey, I had an awesome in the game today. When we have some time and we're alone later, could remind me to tell you about it. So that you know that she has the time to sit down and actually really listen. Because a lot of times if my spouse is talking to me, am I really listening? Am I just like, whatever, paying attention, So I think that's super important to know that when you're ready to talk to me, remind me to tell you about this. It was awesome.
That's a good tip. If you want to have some good math, good equations between you, you might need to schedule that interaction time, right? Because everybody feels a little bit annoyed to get interrupted in the flow of what they're already in, right? Okay, you have any other direction to take this one? This was a good situation to work through. Okay. Okay, do we have time to go a few more? Jennifer, do you?
Yeah, so I just want to say though, and now my mind went blank. You can see how easy this is, right? We're having this discussion, we're talking about this little issue, and they're coming up with some solutions and getting some great suggestions, right? Why do we not do this in daily life? You have to like come to a retreat to talk about this stuff, but it's simple, right?
I think sometimes we
Really
don't do
simple.
it in daily life because there's other obstacles in daily life. There's other children. There's, I'm tired. My day's been long. And so we have to think about setting aside those other obstacles as well.
Right. And so just like at this retreat, you've learned a lot of things, right? So don't feel overwhelmed. Choose one or two things and then go home and say, we're going to focus on this. And then just work on it. And then when you start getting good at that, say, well, what's something else we could work on, right? And just kind of baby steps, right? Julie, get the mic up here.
I was just thinking about how those kinds of conversations are hard to have at home because they a lot of times are emotionally charged, and they can be more easily emotionally charged while you're at home where you feel comfortable. Right now, they're up in front of people, they're not going to really express themselves. You know what I mean? And so being able to have a safe place to express yourself to each other about those issues so that you can really work through it, I think is important. And so I think that's why this marriage retreat is good. Like we can logically think through it because we're not going to be super emotional here in front of people, you know. But maybe how can we provide that at home? How can we be in a place of safety that we can express
You have a
ourselves?
great idea. What do you teach, Julie? I think it's the Monday thing.
We do ours on Sunday night, but a marriage meeting, and we have rules that we're going to talk through it and not be emotional. And if we start to become emotional, we'll stop and do something else, and then we'll come back to it. But that we can, instead of like say this is happening during the week, instead of bringing it up right then when it's an emotionally charged moment, we're like, okay, I need to talk to him about that.
So you have an agenda too. You like write it down, keep track. Like we're gonna talk about this when we're not emotionally charged.
And then we talk about it, because and if I feel emotional about it, I'll work on clearing those emotions beforehand. And then at the meeting, we both know that we can't be emotionally charged about it. That we have to control those emotions and talk through the problems in that safe space, that we know we're going to stay up as late as we need to if we need to work through these problems, So that works really well for us, is to provide that emotionally safe place. Because I know I'm not someone who's going to, I feel vulnerable emotionally if I approach somebody and they get mad about it. It like, I'm like, okay, I'm not a confrontational person, and so it scares me. And so I have to know that I'm going to be safe to bring something up.
Very cool. How many like that idea of like the marriage meeting? Have it planned, sit down, maybe have some yummy pancakes, and have an agenda and talk and try and stay out of that emotion. Very, very good.
So I hope something
we've got
that
these
you're
two
all
back here.
getting is that if you are experiencing what she called that emotionally charged, and we're talking about not the good emotions, because we can be charged with good emotions too, but if we're getting charged with the the negative emotions, can you just remember that in that moment you're missing the truth? You're getting the wrong interpretation, something's off. Can you just stop it right there and say, okay, I'm missing something. Slow down, back up, let me get the truth here.
You asked the question, why don't we do these things at home? But, we've been married for 32 years, and I think that we can always learn, because you have to constantly work on your marriage. You have to constantly work on your relationship with your spouse, with God, with everything. And so I'm coming here to this retreat, and I've learned some amazing things. So how am I going to take that home? And that's practice. And I think that you have to form habits just like you do with anything. So these are relationship habits or spiritual habits or healthy eating habits, whatever it is. Once you start working on doing them, they will come natural, and they won't be something that you have to like think about.